Welcome back to the video series about the life of Shakyamuni Buddha. In the previous episode we heard, the next day, news of Prince Siddhartha becoming Buddha spread throughout Kapilavatthu. He led 500 monks back to visit his homeland, opening a religion without gods, encouraging everyone, regardless of class, to become Buddha if they practice the Eightfold Path. King Suddhodana, who had attained the state of Sodagami, held a solemn welcoming ceremony for his son. People gathered in large numbers, showing respect and curiosity before the solemn image of Buddha. During the ceremony, the king offered food to the Buddha and monks. Then he gave a sermon on the Four Noble Truths, emphasizing the truth of suffering, dukkha, and the path to liberation. He encouraged people to look at themselves, not depending on gods or rituals, but to live mindfully to find peace. Many people in the royal family and the people have taken refuge and attained stream entry. The Buddha also visited Rahula, his son, and later, Rahula became a monk. The renunciation of Rahula and Prince Nanda caused a stir in the royal palace, but King Suddhodana, thanks to his enlightenment, clearly understood the Buddha's reason. The Buddha continued to preach to the royal family and the people, emphasizing that public policy must be based on people with morality and wisdom. He pointed out that a good policy cannot be born from people who lack virtue. Finally, many people in the Sakya clan asked to become monks, demonstrating the spread of the Dharma. The Life of Shakyamuni Buddha, Volume 32. During the 2 months he visited his homeland, although his propaganda work was not very successful, the Buddha still laid a solid foundation. Like a breath of new wind blowing through the ancient capital of Kapilavatthu, the Buddha's teachings have begun to change some of the old thinking of the leadership on the issue of security. Spiritual values, as well as ancient concepts of joy and suffering, must be reevaluated. Personal morality and the issue of good and evil must also be looked at from the inside, introspection, by reflection, by the arisings from the mind. The Buddha's old friends, princes, were not impatient or in a hurry when they saw the descendants of the Sakya family becoming monks. They met many times, discussed many times, questioned human life and values through the teachings they heard from the Buddha. They had many sleepless nights, were restless, worried, and clearly saw that a life of glory, wealth, and the 5 desires really means nothing. Every joy passes quickly and gets bored quickly, and often then face emptiness and tastelessness, looking for new creatures, new pleasures, then sad, bored, empty again. They remember every gait, every smile, every look of the Buddha, and they are even more convinced that he has found eternal peace, unconditional peace, peace more. Pleasure has no objects that are pleasant or agreeable from the outside. It exists on its own independently, independent of space and time. What is it? But the Buddha had it, and most of his monks and disciples also had it. Prince Ananda was the first person who wanted to become a monk and asked Anuruddha to go with him. When he saw Anuruddha easily agree, Manam, the current court official highly respected by King Suddhodana, Anuruddha's biological brother, stopped him. "I have to stay at home because my parents love me the most. I'm still young, unmarried, and have a good future ahead. Leave the ordination to me. I am already tired of family and official matters. Please give priority to that renunciation to me, my dear." Anuruddha laughed. "Did you say it wrong? It is you who is taking on the important responsibility of national affairs. It is you who is busy with family matters, wife and children. When you leave, who will you throw those burdens to?" The minister Mahanam remained silent. Anuruddha came to ask his mother many times, but she steadfastly refused, afraid that her son, who only knew how to play, could not afford the ascetic life of monks. Seeing Anuruddha threatening to go on a hunger strike and commit suicide, she tried to refuse very cleverly. "Okay, if you're that determined, I'll let you go, but on one condition. Mom, just say it. Please take the time to meet Governor Badia. If Badia agrees to become a monk, I will let you become a monk." Anuruddha's mother raised that condition, thinking it would stop her son because she simply thought that Governor Badia's illustrious reputation, fame, position, and career covered one area. And I heard that, having just become engaged to a talented and beautiful princess, how could he give up everything to become a monk? Indeed, although they met many times and discussed the Dharma many times, and agree almost completely with each other on the Buddha's teachings on the cessation of suffering. But if Anuruddha wants to convince Bhadia to become a monk, it is not simple at all. After half a day of riding, we arrived at the large, magnificent palace with high floors, low floors, horizontal buildings, and vertical rows of the governor's office. Seeing several layers of fences, soldiers strictly guarding inside and out, people coming and going, people bustling here and there, Anuruddha was stunned and stopped, suddenly thinking of her mother's difficult conditions. Having been respectfully informed by the guards and servants, Bhadia quit his job and received his friend as if he were a distinguished guest. After serving the meal, seeing Anuruddha's face gloomy, unable to focus, not uttering a word before or after, Bhadia asked kindly and lovingly, "What's up? Why do you seem so sad?" "It's all because of you." Anuruddha now spoke with a resentful voice. "I wanted to follow the Buddha and become a monk to study like the other Sakya boys. But because of you, because of your position as governor, I couldn't go." Bhadia laughed. "Why is this such a strange thing? When did I hinder you? If you want to become a monk, I will find every way to satisfy your wishes." "That's true." Anuruddha's eyes lit up, smiled happily, stuck out his right finger, hooked Bhadia's finger as if forcing him to accept a promise. "For sure." Bhadia knows what's going on, but with a generous and open personality, he's also happy with your happiness. Anuruddha briefly told his story and his mother's conditions, then concluded, "So, is it because of you that I can't become a monk? You promised to help me in every way. The only best, fastest way is for you to become a monk with me." Having promised, Bhadia found himself stuck with his parents, stuck with the position of governor, and most stuck with his newly betrothed wife. Actually, he also plans to become a monk because he sees that the life of a monk is like a bird's wing in the open sky without attachment or busyness at all. But not now. "Well, in 7 years I will become a monk with you." "Impossible." Anuruddha shook his head. 7 years is too long." "Well, then 3 years. 3 years for me to arrange all my internal and external affairs in order." "No way." Anuruddha shook his head vigorously. "Death waits for no one." "Then we will definitely go together in 7 months. At least give him enough time to return the Mandarin, hand over his position, and arrange family matters." Seeing that Anuruddha also refused, Bhadia had to give a 7-day appointment. Happy and cheerful, Anuruddha seemed to fly on horseback back to the capital. Then, along with Ananda, the two went to invite Kimbala, Bhagu, and Devadatta to the capital. Devadaha, Koliya country too. And everyone had a hard time convincing their family, especially Ananda, but thanks to their determination, they were able to leave as they wished. Then, 7 days later, they met at Prince Devadatta's eastern palace. In the morning, they climbed into a large 4-horse carriage, pulled by the royal barber, the young man Upali, and followed the caravan route across the Koliya border. Because of the hot weather, knowing that the Buddha and the monks were walking slowly and along the forest path, perhaps hidden somewhere in the villages on the outskirts of Mala city, they let their horses gallop quickly, hoping to catch up. 2 days later, it was known that the Buddha was still in Anupiya village, only a few roadside villages away. They got down from the car, took off their royal robes and ornaments, gave them to the young barber Upali, and said, "You are an honest and faithful person that we have known for a long time, so we deliberately asked you to drive here. Now we only keep one robe and bowl to follow Buddha, living a proletarian, impoverished monastic life. So this 4-horse carriage, all these personal belongings, we would like to give to you as capital, livelihood. Try to live a pure and kind life." After the 6 princes disappeared behind the bushes, young Upali had tears in his eyes, holding his treasure and standing still. Upali thought to himself, "They are so good, they were so rich and royal, but their titles, positions, fame, power, jewels, they threw them away like rags. And what am I? An ordinary barber? He had enough to eat and wear for so long thanks to the royal grace. If you don't have anything, what do you hold on to? What do you indulge in that you refuse to let go and become a monk like them?" 6 royal robes fell to the ground. A pile of jewels fell out, shining, dazzling in all colors under the sun. It is this treasure, this pile of poisonous snakes that makes human greed grow. Birth, Upali continued to think. Then the so-called happiness due to satisfying the 5 desires will be followed by suffering, tears, and other unpredictable dangers. If I bring this back, everyone will think I'm a murderer and robber. Anything less than that is a cheater and a thief. The country's laws will not tolerate me. In this world, how many people believe in the truth? Even though Upali was born in a lowly class, he was intelligent, bright, and solved problems very quickly. Because he knew the horse was familiar with the old path, Upali unfastened the horse from the cart, took off the reins from the horse, took a whip, and gently whipped the horse back to the old path. As for the treasure, Upali wrapped it into 6 different packages. As he walked, he hung it on a tree branch, silently hoping that whoever was blessed would own this ownerless property. Finished, taking a deep breath, Upali aimed towards Anupiya village, trying to run. Late in the afternoon, while the princes were resting under a tree, Upali caught up. He breathlessly recounted his feelings and thoughts in front of the pile of royal robes and jewels. Then how to solve them. Badiya laughed. So my friend also wants to become a monk. Good. Devadatta frowned slightly. You are Sudra. No problem. Anuruddha interjected. The Buddha once taught that, although hundreds of rivers have different names, when they enter the sea and merge with the sea, they are collectively called the sea. Likewise, even though we have different names, classes, and positions, but when he becomes a monk, he integrates with the Sangha, lives with the Sangha, and lives together in the same great sea that is the Venerable Master's church. Everyone nodded, smiled, and complimented. After a night of lying on the ground in the dew, deeply feeling the doorless and homeless life of the holy congregation, they went to Anupiya village and met the Buddha. In fact, the Buddha is temporarily staying here for 3 days, both preaching to the residents in the area and waiting for them. After bowing to the Buddha, they presented their wishes to him and agreed to become monks. Ananda said, "Please let Upali become a monk first, so that the disciples can see him as a brother. The first benefit is to eliminate class discrimination. The second benefit is to extinguish the arrogance of the Sakya and Koliya royal lineage." Buddha quietly agreed. Everything has been prepared. The monk ordination ceremony for Upali and 6 important royal figures took place very simply. So Upali, Ananda, Devadatta, Badiya, Kimbila, Bhagu, Anuruddha were kindly instructed by Venerable Sariputta on how to wear robes, carry bowls, how to hold alms bowls, how to eat food, and even how to walk, stand, sit, and lie down as a monk, a mendicant in the Master's church. And the Buddha taught them the basic dharma on how to practice, some basics of concentration and wisdom. Seeing the princes he knew again, Nanda was very happy, and perhaps most excited was Rahula. Bhikkhu Nanda, from the time he became a monk until now, has never found joy, always sad because he misses his beautiful fiancée. She always appears before his eyes, when walking, standing, sitting, lying down, and even in restless, dreamy sleep. Seeing all the royal and noble princes coming to become monks at the same time, Nanda felt like he was somewhat comforted. The novice Rahula has a simpler mentality and gets to meet many close acquaintances again, and every one of them loves him, so he feels that he is no longer lonely, but on the contrary, feels extremely close and warm. The Buddha knew everything that happened inside each person's heart, but he only taught in general. The path to enlightenment and liberation is always fighting with oneself, with demons, affliction. It's not as easy and smooth as walking on a velvet carpet. You have to pay attention to every step, every breath. The next day, the Buddha announced his departure, leaving the village of Anupiya, heading to the capital city of Vesali. The road was long, and the walking was difficult, so I felt sorry for the little Rahula who had been soaked in dew, exposed to the sun, pillowed on a tree, and lying on the ground for more than 10 days. The Venerable Sariputta took care to provide every comfort possible, taking care of this tiny novice monk every inch. Bhikkhu Nanda also paid special attention to his grandchildren, so when he went to eat something delicious, he often brought it to share. Even with the robe, Nanda also covered Rahula with warmth. Now, with the addition of Ananda and Anuruddha, Rahula feels like she is protected in the familiar arms of the royal family. He talked and laughed quickly and happily. About 10 days later, Arriving at the outskirts of Vesali, the Buddha and the assembly stayed in the Mavana forest. He also stayed here for 3 days to preach the Dharma to the residents of the area. Then from there, gradually crossed the Ganga River, arriving at Truklam in time to settle down in the rainy season. Hearing the news of the Buddha's return, the Venerable Moggallana and the elders such as Asaji, Yasa, Nadi Kassapa, Gaya Kassapa came to pay homage and congratulate him on his health. Then, one after another, monks from the monastery and from other places came to visit. It took the Buddha several days to preach the precepts and remind him of a disciplined and virtuous life. King Senya Bimbisara, Queen Vidahi, and a number of courtiers happily came to pay respect to the Buddha and inquire about his return to his homeland. Seeing the Sakya princes become monks, the king was very moved and delighted. He also especially held the hands of the novice Rahula. When the king suggested that he wanted to make offerings to any of the 4 things, Rahula shook his head and refused, saying that the life of a monk is based on contentment and few desires as happiness. Hearing that, the king was both afraid, respectful, and sympathetic, thinking of his son, Prince Ajatasattu, how little Rahula's mature perception was known. The 3rd year's summer retreat program at Truklam was planned by the 2 great disciples and the elders and submitted to the Buddha. He did not add anything else, just noted that he spent a lot of time teaching the monks, new bhikkhu. As for the Buddha, he spent half a month, every afternoon, preaching and thoroughly guiding meditation and insight to the Sakya noble group. The aristocratic monks of the Sakya lineage initially found it difficult to adapt to the new life, but after a month, everyone found peace and relaxation. The Buddha knew the progress of their practice life, so he always preached supportive sermons at the right time and place. Bhikkhu Bhadia, after grasping the topic from the world-honored one, he diligently practiced it. One night, sitting under a tree, going deep into concentration, he felt a boundless happiness that had never existed in his life. He was so happy, he exclaimed, "Oh, so happy! So happy!" At that time, the sky was dry, under the dim moonlight. Many monks meditating nearby heard and knew that it was the exclaim of the once famous former governor. They thought that the new Bhikkhu Bhadia could not afford the miserable life of a monk, remembering the old luxurious life of the 5 desires, so he reported it to the Buddha, hoping to ask him to pay attention and promote it. The next afternoon, after the Dharma talk, the Buddha said to Bhadia, "Is that so, Bhadia?" Last night, while meditating, he suddenly exclaimed, "Oh, so happy, so happy. Is that true or not true?" "That's right, world-honored one. Why did you utter such inspiring words? Please explain that reason to the congregation." "World-honored one, for more than 10 years as governor, governing the entire northern Sakya territory, the disciple had been restless day and night. Outside, keep the territory quiet and defeat violent bandit groups. Inside, how can people have a peaceful life, full food and warm clothes? However, wealth and power can easily corrupt the human mind. Therefore, internal enemies and external enemies make the disciples always in fear, even though the military guards are on guard day and night. Even the most trusted officials must be on guard. Treason, deceit, corruption of public funds, corruption, and bribery of subordinate officials can not only endanger the lives of disciples but also endanger the entire kingdom. Fear and insecurity are constant psychology. Afflictions, worries, and doubts always flicker before our eyes like an obsession, day and night. Venerable Buddha, the disciple became a monk not voluntarily, but seemed forced by the promise he made to Prince Anuruddha. However, because of the world-honored one's mighty virtue, because of the mysterious Dharma that the disciple heard, and because of his admiration for Anuruddha's holy soul, the disciple firmly waved his hand and gave up everything. Last night, in the quiet middle of the night, the disciple felt a serenity he had never experienced in his life. Sitting alone, the disciple clearly sees that he has nothing to lose, nothing to fear, nothing to care about, worry about, or be wary of. Completely empty, peaceful, and free. With such thoughts, disciples enter meditation easily, entering the levels of meditation in a stable and solid way. Then, the states of joy, happiness, and one-mindedness cool and fill the disciple's body and mind, making the disciple feel the deep, subtle, and even secret happiness of meditation. At that moment, unable to stop, the disciple uttered that inspirational word, making his brother upset, causing the world-honored one to pay attention. The disciple felt that he was at fault. The sutra asks the world-honored one and the masses to let his disciples repent. After Bhikkhu Bhaddiya's gut-wrenching narrative, the hall suddenly fell silent. Everyone looked at the former governor with respectful and sympathetic eyes. Buddha opened his praise. He is absolutely not at fault. On the contrary, this story needs to be praised and told to many people. Let everyone see that power, fame, and position only bring anxiety, fear, insecurity, and suffering. And only a life of denial, renunciation, proletariat, poverty, solitude, and meditation can bring true peace and happiness. Sometime later, thanks to his diligent practice and meditation, Bhikkhu Bhaddiya attained the 3 insights and completed the tasks that need to be done as a monk. Meanwhile, Bhikkhu Ananda attained stream entry, Bhikkhu Anuruddha possessed the divine eye, Bhikkhu Kimbila and Bhagu attained arahatship, Bhikkhu Devadatta did not attain any holy fruit, but attained the 5 wisdoms. As for Bhikkhu Upali, the barber did not gain anything, but was always praised by the public for his dignity and demeanor. Respect the prescribed teachings seriously, without any defects in morality. So all of them have set safe and solid steps on the land of the Dharma. Dear ladies and gentlemen, you have just listened to the video about the life of Buddha Shakyamuni, adapted from the work A Life, a Sun and Moon by Master Geoy Duck. This video series will be broadcast at 7 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the YouTube channel Buddhist Story. We sincerely thank you for watching. To not miss the next episodes, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you find the content useful, please share this video with your relatives and friends. All your comments are very valuable to us. Please leave comments below the video so we can discuss and share together. Thank you, and see you again in the next episodes of the video series, The Life of Buddha Shakyamuni.